Hello again to the Agakala Reaction. Today we will be watching 9 TV shows that lost millions of viewers and why. And I'm presuming it's from What Culture as well. So I'm presuming the first scene that it's showing, and it's showing Rick from The Walking Dead. I'm presuming it's gonna be about Walking Dead, number 1 or 2 or something like that. So let's just go and just watch and see what kind of shows lost a lot
Television is just about as fickle an industry as you could possibly find, as the landscape is littered with TV shows all scrambling to make a good impression on any potential viewer that might stumble upon them. Ratings are as important to the TV world as box office receipts are to the film industry, because it's your viewership that ultimately guarantees their success. Over the years, we've seen some titans of television make an unforgettable impact on those watching at home, garnering viewers in their droves as they do their thing. And sometimes these viewers even rise as the respective show carries on. Then you have the other side of the coin. You know, the one where a show is so darn popular that it ends up making a few missteps along the way and actually loses a large chunk of those viewers.
About
with that in mind, I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 9 TV shows that lost millions of viewers and why. Number 9, Supergirl. We may talk about how Arrow started this wave of modern-day superhero TV, while The Flash took it to a whole new level. But no single episode of the Arrowverse has been more watched than the pilot of Supergirl, which brought in a staggering 13 million viewers. Though those viewers decreased over the course of the first season, it did bring in an impressive average of 9.8 million throughout its run. Supergirl's dramatic decline can easily be explained away, however, by the show's move from CBS to sister network The CW, following the conclusion of its first season. While that did allow it to continue on, officially bringing the Girl of Steel to the home of the Arrowverse, it also robbed the show of a massive chunk of its viewership, as the CW brings in considerably less viewers than any of the other big 5 networks. Of course, as with every show, the typical fatigue viewer decline has set in over time, but the 3 million drop between seasons 2 and 5 is actually pretty standard for the CW. Number 8. Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy.
And I know there's a lot of people who watched it, including my sister. And I think it's still going for some weird reason. Well, no, maybe not a weird reason, it's just it's not as popular, but it's still going. Supergirl? No, haven't watched it either. And I watched some of the Green Arrow, but it was back in the day when I actually had TV and you had to watch it on TV. So it wasn't, you know, you had to kind of be like on every week, and sometimes it would be late. I'm getting up early, so sometimes I would just not watch it because it was too late. Eventually I lost interest or I got too confused and stuff like that. It's much easier to watch shows when you have streaming platforms. So I haven't watched Supergirl at all, or Grey's Anatomy. Oh, such a cute cat. And I did watch. What was the first thing? Actually, I can't even remember what they actually mentioned first. It's funny. Okay, back. There you go.
Running shows on television today, and for good reason. Kicking off its historic run back in 2005 with 16 million viewers, those figures would actually increase as the show went on, with it bringing in between 20 to 25 million on a weekly basis during its second and third seasons. And though its audience would eventually whittle down, it held on to the vast majority of them for a very long time. Make no mistake about it, Grey's Anatomy may have lost millions of viewers over the years, but that doesn't highlight any kind of weakness. No, instead it's just an example of how long it's managed to defy age. The truth is that the show started its run as a TV juggernaut, and it's still one today. Sure, its ratings may pale in comparison to what they once were, but the world has changed, and first airing figures aren't quite as important as they once were. Number 7. Fear the Walking Dead. Fear the Walking Dead had the benefit of premiering during the height of The Walking Dead's popularity, earning the viewership of its parent show right from the beginning, as its premiere episode pulled in 10 million viewers. But here's the thing with Fear, it's not its parent show, and as fans realized that, viewers began to drop with each episode. In spite of that, the show still found its own audience of between 4 to 5 million viewers on a weekly basis, which is still really good for a cable network like AMC. However, Scott Gimple's reign of bland terror that tanked The Walking Dead was transferred to Fear, as he became the executive producer of the spin-off. He and new showrunners Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg killed off all the good characters, maintained the bland ones, and even brought The Walking Dead's personality vacuum Morgan in to headline the show. And that is what ultimately killed anyone's interest in the show. Number 6. Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Back when the Terminator trilogy was a thing, the Sarah Connor Chronicles became the first T2 sequel to disregard the third entry in the franchise. Before that was the cool thing to do. And it brought the iconic film series to the small screen, where it was met by the 18 million people that watched its pilot episode. By the time the show was cancelled, however, following the conclusion of its second season, there were only 3 million people watching it. Though it lost almost half its viewership between the first and second episodes, the remainder of the first season still found an impressive groove somewhere between 8 and 10 million. It was the space between it and the second season that ultimately undercut its success though, because for some reason fans of the show just never returned for season 2. Unfortunately, the series just couldn't maintain all those eyeballs. And given that it's actually one of the more consistent post-T2 stories, that is a damn shame. Number 5, Once Upon a Time. A magical reimagining of some of the most iconic fairy tales ever told. Once Upon a Time's uniqueness as a show reflected in its strong ratings, as it pulled in an average of 11 million viewers throughout its first 2 seasons. And in spite of the fact that it would suffer a number of declines over the years, it always managed to recapture folks' attention with its unique spin on some beloved stories.
Wow,
sadly, the sheen would eventually wear off sometime around the 5th season, when the ratings never recovered from the typical mid-season lull, as the show began hitting series lows of 3 to 4 million on a weekly basis. As it usually managed to overcome the aforementioned lull, Season 5's decline could have had something to do with fatigue, as fans grew weary of repetitive storylines as well as the fact that their favourite characters were consistently robbed of their happy endings. In the end though, the 7th and final season's dramatic decline was simply down to the fact that the showrunners attempted to reboot the series following the narrative's conclusion, something that ultimately got it cancelled. Number 4, Gotham. It shouldn't come as a surprise to learn that a show centered on the origins of Batman drew huge numbers for Fox back in 2014.
Actually, now that they're talking about it, there was a Supergirl before. And Supergirl is part of the Arrowverse. But Batman and Superman and the Flash and who else? Wonder Woman. They're all part of the DC and Justice League. So how does the Batman kind of like, or Gotham gets into the those whole Arrowverse thingy? I wonder.
Episode of Gotham drew an impressive 8.21 million viewers. What should come as a surprise is just how quickly those figures began to drop throughout the remainder of the season, and yes, the rest of the show's 5-year run, with the final episode only drawing 2.19 million viewers.
It's a long time.
This one's, well, quite simple really. The beginning of Gotham marked a new era for Batman on television, and as a result, it drew a number of intrigued fans who wanted to see just how they'd pull it off. However, it became clear rather early on that Gotham was
I think about being able to watch the shows now, with the just on the streaming platforms and just watch the whole season after season if they are available on the streaming platform. And before, I'm guessing it's not that good for the actual makers of the shows, because before, at least when you were going week to week, it was just you knew, oh, I want to watch this next week and I have to watch it and stuff like that. So the kind of an interest was kind of going on all the time, and now it's probably shorter, is it? I wonder how that
destined to do its own thing, and that didn't sit right with everyone. Despite this, the show did find its own niche, its market, if you will, and the off-the-wall Batman prequel appealed to them quite well, as its ratings held rather steady in its last 3 seasons. Number 3, Prison Break. Prison Break's exceptional first season was so damn gripping that it premiered and concluded to 10 million viewers, with the 20 episodes in between maintaining those high viewing figures. As with most shows, a ratings decline was inevitable, but the real drop didn't begin until the 3rd season, before it plummeted in the 4th. The interesting thing about Prison Break is that while the quality began to dip in its 2nd season, most viewers stuck by it until halfway through the 3rd. However, it did find a relatively mediocre groove with 4 million eyeballs watching each week. Then a schedule change in season 4 placed it in the infamous Friday night death slot, dooming it to its ultimate cancellation. In spite of its presence as one of the all-time greats, a reputation it only received based on that first season, its revival premiered 8 years later to only slightly improved figures.
A revival
Number 2, Glee. Glee took the world by storm in 2009, becoming a pop culture phenomenon the likes of which had never quite been seen on television before. Starting its very own movement, the pilot's early premiere picked up almost 10 million viewers, and after maintaining most of its audience throughout the fall, the mid-season break saw those figures increase to weekly doses of 13 million, figures it maintained well into its 2nd season. When the hype had settled slightly, the show found a solid audience somewhere between 6 to 9 million for its 3rd season. But in its 4th and 5th seasons, the cracks began to show, with the latter only pulling in an average of 1 million viewers in the back half. Its final season, however, managed to improve a little bit, bringing in an average of 2 to 3 million a week. Following the graduation of the original cast at the end of the 3rd season, the quality of the show declined dramatically, as the creators were unable to figure out what they ultimately wanted it to be. While the New York graduates had the more intriguing stories, they were almost too mature for Glee's audience, and the newbies back at McKinley High were little more than carbon copies of the originals. On top of all that, the show lost part of its soul after the real-life death of star Corey Monteith, which may have explained why there was such a sharp ratings decrease in the episodes that followed the beautiful tribute to the young actor. Number 1, The Walking Dead. Though The Walking Dead premiered to a solid 5 million viewers, those figures significantly increased with each passing season as the show's popularity skyrocketed. By season 3, it had increased to 12 million. By season 4, it had gone up to 16 million, and by season 5, it was bringing in 17 million viewers a week. In any other case, The Walking Dead's ratings decline would have been totally normal across a decade of viewing. But given that it steadily increased each season until the 6th, the loss is clearly down to a lot more than that. While Andrew Lincoln's departure was the final nail in the coffin of The Walking Dead's juggernaut era, the fact is that people stopped seeing The Walking Dead simply because The Walking Dead stopped being must-see. Sorry to break it to you, but that's just how it is.
That happens. Yep. So, like I was saying that basically, I did start watching. I watched most of them. I haven't watched the Supergirl. I haven't watched Glee. Gotham started. Prison Break definitely watched the 1st season and a few episodes of the 2nd season. But yeah, Walking Dead definitely watched the most of it because it's like probably 5 or 6 seasons. But yeah, how many of those did you watch? And did you watch all of them, the whole run, all of the episodes, all of the seasons, or did you just stop at some stage as well? Alright, thank you very much for watching. I see you tomorrow. Bye.